I'm Gui Siqueira, and my current goal is to organize my new messy small shop. And following this goal, today we'll make some simple but beautiful drawers for my table saw cart. This is my first video and I'll try to show the entire process as best as I can. If you have any additional questions that I'm not showing or I show too fast, please ask it in the comment section and I promise to answer. That's the first time I'm making drawers, so I started by doing some research. I've put some useful links found on YouTube on my video's description. Take a look if you want to dive a little bit more into making drawers. Before everything, I quickly sketched the layout I was looking for and decided to have a big bottom drawer and 4 other small drawers. With that 3-row layout in mind, I was able to calculate a good height for the inner drawers. Since I never fixed a drawer to anything before, I decided to start with the big bottom drawer as the starting point and make the rest from there. I'm using 15mm plywood I had available from a previous project, and knowing the thickness of the slides, I was able to calculate the width of the bottom drawer. Here I'm cutting the sides, front and back to their heights. If you want more details or the plans, I'm adding the link in my video's description. With the pieces in the right height, I then used my small crosscut sled to cut the right length at a perfect 90-degree square. I used the stop block to remove the same amount of material from the sides and then from the front and the back. Here you can see me being creative fixing the stop block outside my small sled. Well, it kind of worked. I decided to use pocket holes and glue to assemble the drawer. I also created grooves for the drawer bottom with some passes over the table saw. I will not get in details about pocket holes, but I've put some useful links about it in the description of my video if you want to know more. While cutting the grooves, I tested the fit so the 5mm bottom plywood would fit. After creating the grooves on the 4 sides, it was time to glue and screw the pieces together. Guess what? After assembling 3 sides and trying to fit the bottom, the groove was just not large enough. Well, for the next 2 hours, I kind of slowly and carefully added some extra thickness to the grooves with my chisel and mallet, and a lot of patience. After sliding the bottom, I added the extra groove space for the last piece with the table saw and fixed it. Some inner fixes, putting some screws to give more stability to the bottom, and the first drawer was complete. To fix it to the cart, I cut spacers and screwed them to the sides with support of the cart structure. Here I used my ruler and pencil for some spacing when attaching the slides hardware to the drawer, and did the same with my circular saw track to give some space from the bottom of the stand. This way, a gap between the bottom of the cart and the drawer was created, avoiding unnecessary friction between them. Well, now I just plug the drawer into the hardware and ta-da! First drawer done! With the first drawer fixed, it was time to create the central structure for the 4 other drawers. I measured and cut the pieces using the same wood I used when making the cart, and then joined them together with pocket holes. Then it was a matter of finding a way to keep it still and fix it to the top structure of the cart. I quickly cut a wedge to help me put some pressure and keep the piece aligned and stable to fix it. Never forget to pre-drill when fixing things to hardwood with screws. Otherwise the screw can break and that's a pain in the I also decided to add some screws to fix the middle structure to the back of the car, so this way I can get more stability and also be safer in the long term. After the support structure was done, I checked the angles and measures and started making the 4 other drawers. The process is the same as the first drawer, so I'll fast forward all the cutting, drilling, making the grooves and also the assembly. I used a piece of 10mm plywood as a spacer to define the height for the next row of drawers, the middle ones. I chose this thickness because when measuring the remaining space for the other 2 rows of drawers, I calculated that there was a gap of 20mm when subtracting the drawer heights. The idea is to put the spacer on top of the bottom drawer and fix the sliders to the central structure and to the sides with the help of spacers. To create the central supporting structure for the middle drawer slides, I used the same plywood cuts I made for the side spacers, glued them together and fixed to the card structure. After fixing the middle drawers, we just used the same height spacer supported by the new row of drawers to figure out the new point to fix the next set of sliders. This way, the gaps between the drawers will be exactly the same. To make the drawer fronts, I had available a beautiful antique board of Brazilian kumaru that I split in 2. The result had 15mm in thickness and it was perfect for the fronts. I then cut the fronts to the right lengths using my crosscut sled. After the raw dimensions were right, I then passed all them through the planer, making small decrements in the thickness each couple passes. After that process, all the fronts were perfectly flat and at the same thickness. With the boards flat, I then found the best 90-degree corner of each board and did multiple table saw passes, every time flipping and reducing 0.5 mm in width to make all the fronts at the same height and perfectly square. With the router, I then chamfered all the corners to make them look nice and with beautiful lines. I had some 50-50 tung oil available and decided to use it to finish the fronts. For the drawer pulls, I cut strips from a piece of leather I had available, each one with 25mm. I then sanded and burnished the edges with some beeswax and a turned wood hanger I connected to my drill. After that, it was a matter of drilling the fronts and fix them to the drawers. To align them properly, I used a spacer and clamps to hold them in place. When I was comfortable with the placing, I then drilled the drawer and fixed it. I used 30mm long brass bolts with their nuts companions to fix them in place. For the big drawer, I also added some wood screws directly from behind to make sure the front was well fixed to the drawer. And that's it, all perfectly aligned and beautiful. Hey, thanks for watching, and if you liked the video or if you like the kind of projects I make, please subscribe, and thanks for watching again.